top 10 players in Super Bowl 58. We'll go from 10 to 1. And of course, as we get to the top of the list, you guys will be able to tell who I did leave out of these rankings. There's a lot of great players in this Super Bowl. What if we're talking about the 10 best? I'll start with number 10, L'Jarius Sneed, a great lockdown corner. We see what he's become in that Kansas City Chiefs defense. We also see how Steve Spagnuolo over the last 3-4 years with this Kansas City team has made this an elite defense, and L'Jarius Sneed has been a big part of that. We see him punch the ball out against Zay Flowers in the AFC Championship. That was a game-saving, season-saving, possible Super Bowl ticket punching defensive MVP type of play. And I think L'Jarius Sneed is going to have a great impact in this Super Bowl. I'm excited to see the type of plays and coverages that are drawn up for him. And I think we'll see another highlight play from this guy here. At number 9, give me Deebo Samuel. Of course, the Swiss Army knife for, I almost said the Kansas City 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers. We know he can be that rushing, that receiving threat. Hell, we've even seen him throw a pass or two in his NFL career, one of Brock Purdy's favorite targets. We know Kyle Shanahan likes to get him implemented into the game plan for the San Francisco 49ers, and I fully expect Deebo Samuel to have some touches. And call me crazy, if the Niners do win this Super Bowl, Deebo Samuel has a good case at being Super Bowl MVP. At number 8, give me Chris Jones, a guy who did miss the first few snaps of the season, obviously missed the first game along with Travis Kelce, but now he and the Kansas City Chiefs are here at the end of everything in the Super Bowl. 10.5 sacks on the year, still one of the most double team guys in the league, still at the tops of the league in pressures as well, quarterback hits, tackles for loss. We know what Chris Jones is capable of, and with him being on that defensive line with a guy like George Karlaftis, with a guy like Drew Tranquill behind him in the linebacking core, Chris Jones is going to have some effect in this Super Bowl. At number 7, give me basically his counterpart on the flip side of the ball, defensive end, if you will, in Nick Bosa, the reigning defensive player of the year. Of course, we know what he wanted after TJ Watt did a couple of years back. Also 10.5 sacks for Nick Bosa. Very well in pressures, very well in tackles for loss, quarterback hits. Also, definitely expect to see Nick Bosa get double teamed by this Kansas City offensive line, which does have one of the best in the league. I want to say they're top 3 in terms of least amount of sacks given up on their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. And we know what Nick Bosa is capable of. He's been in plenty of NFC title games. He's been in the Super Bowl before. He's been a defensive player of the year. And we know what that last name sports, especially when you play in the biggest game of the NFL season. At number 6, give me George Kittle, tight end for the Niners. Of course, we know how lethal he is. We know he can be a big force in the run block game, in the pass block game. He can also seep out. He's one of the greatest receiving tight ends we've ever seen. Definitely one of the better tight ends in the NFL since he's come in, and especially in this season as well. It's been no different. And we're going to see Brock Purdy look for him in this Super Bowl. If George Kittle goes off and has a big game, I'm not necessarily shocked by that because we know what George Kittle is capable of. At number 5, give me Fred Warner, maybe the best linebacker in the NFL. We know he can cover. We know he can blitz. We know he's the captain of that San Francisco 49ers team, going to be having people rallying around him, going to also have him calling those defensive schemes and defensive lineups, those adjustments on the field, as we've seen him do over his career. There's a reason he is an elite guy. There's a reason he's the best at his position. And there's also a reason that the Niners have him in that linebacking core because we've seen in the past with a Alden Smith, possibly with a Navarro Bowman. They want to keep that same type of culture. And I believe when Fred Warner came in, they saw a lot of that in him. So the 10 through the 5, L'Jarius Sneed at 10, Deebo at 9, Chris Jones at 8, Nick Bosa at 7, George Kittle at 6, Fred Warner at 5. Now let's get to the top 4. Trent Williams is going to come in at number 4. No sacks allowed this year. I know he only played 15 of the 17 possible games. He did start all 15 games. He was in no sacks allowed. All but 2 games, as I just mentioned, played this season, which is going to show a testament to his longevity. Clearly, when he came over for the Niners, a few years back, that was one of their best additions. He is their best offensive lineman, and I don't think there's a debate as to if he can or can't be the best lineman in this Super Bowl. I personally think that he is. Creed Humphrey does have a possible, case as well, but he does have 4 sacks given up on the year. I will give credit to Creed Humphrey, though. He's not in my top 10, but he did have almost 1,100 offensive snaps, which was tied for 9th best in the NFL. But yes, Trent Williams at number 4, he's going to be tasked with that, with that Chris Jones coming around on the back end with a George Karlaftis if they do want to bring in Tranquill or maybe Snead or McDuffie on one of those cornerback blitzes. But Trent Williams, I believe overall, will have a good game. At number 3, Travis Kelce. We understand what Travis Kelce is. Him and Patrick Mahomes already combining for the most postseason quarterback tight end duo touchdowns. I want to say it might even be just quarterback receiver touchdowns in general in postseason history, but we know he's over Brady and Gronk, at least for that quarterback to tight end duo for touchdowns in the postseason. We've seen Travis Kelsey have some big Super Bowls. We've seen Travis Kelsey be very good in these playoffs and in most playoff games that he's been in. It makes it very easy when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. And I don't think there's going to be any differences here for what is going to be expected of Travis Kelsey. At number two, give me Christian McCaffrey, an MVP candidate, arguably the best running back in the league. We know he can run it. We know that he can be a receiving threat as well. 21 total touchdowns for Christian McCaffrey this year, leading rusher in the NFL for Christian McCaffrey this year, in that MVP conversation, which is very rare that we see that type of running back in the MVP conversation. Last running back we see win MVP was Adrian Peterson, coming back from the ACL, and I think he was undoubtedly the best player in the league that year, and his return was just very, very unprecedented. So Christian McCaffrey at number two, I think he's going to have plenty of touches in this game. Look for Kyle Shanahan to get him involved early and often, and to give the Chiefs plenty of fits. And at number one, the best player in the NFL, the gentleman who should win the NFL MVP award over Lamar Jackson. I said it on my channel. I said it on the last episode. Patrick Mahomes. We understand everything that Patrick Mahomes is. We know he's elite. We know he's one of the few, if not the only one, that can play his exact style of football. We know he's chasing Tom Brady's greatness as well. We know that he is under that tutelage of Andy Reid, and he has driven this team back to their fourth Super Bowl in 5 years, has a chance to go back to back, has a chance to have three Super Bowl wins before the age of 30, and really be in that GOAT discussion. Quick side note, want to give him that respect for saying he's not even halfway close to Brady. Talk to me 15 years down the line, and we'll see what I'm actually doing. So Mahomes understands he's got to go get those records in terms of rings, in terms of passing yards, passing touchdowns, even completions, I believe. But he also has to have the longevity, the entire body of work, playing until I'd say at least 37, 38, for not 49, 39. But we're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes chasing Tom Brady's greatness on the next episode, episode 65, which will come on Friday, just a couple of days before the Super Bowl. So the top 10 players going into this Super Bowl: number one, Mahomes; number two, Christian McCaffrey; number three, George Kittle; four, Trent Williams; five, Fred Warner; six, George Kittle; seven, Nick Bosa; eight, Chris Jones; nine, Debo Samuel; and 10, give me L'Jarius Sneed. I wanted to throw a possible Isaiah Pacheco in there, of course, a Trent McDuffie as well. But with the way L'Jarius Sneed has been able to force these turnovers, especially within the AFC Championship game, want to give that nod to him. Brock Purdy. I know Brock Purdy's not here on the top 10 list. I do believe Purdy is a very good player, but when you look at the talent that he's stacked up against and how he does have that benefit of being around all that talent and basically being that, not being rude system quarterback with San Francisco, it's going to have me exclude him on his top 10 list.